think I know where we are. I think I heard about this place. You telling me you guys ain't never heard of the Jodes?
Junior Jode and his psycho family?
They were killers.
Not just killers.
Right, cannibals.
Welcome to Second Class Cinema, the show where we watch a B-movie and immediately discuss. I'm Tom. I'm here with Eric and Brittany.
Hi.
We sure do that.
We do. How's it going, everyone?
It's going pretty good. Well.
Yeah?
It's a weekend. Can't complain.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's Saturday evening. We just got done watching Lost After Dark, 2014-2015 new movie.
Yep.
Which is different for us. We rented this on Amazon Prime.
We did.
So this was Brittany's pick. Brittany, why don't you tell us why you picked this movie?
That's it.
I said that weird.
Definitely left it open for a follow-up. But I've been wanting to pick more new movies. I feel like everyone's already heard of all the old stuff. And I don't know. I feel like sometimes it can get repetitive. So I'm trying to pick some new stuff. But anyway, I saw this on DVD as a new release at Best Buy. And I was like, that sounds interesting. Because it was like being lauded for being so 80s and such retro horror. And I was like, I dig the 80s, clearly. If you've listened to any episodes of this podcast, you would know.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, this movie sounds pretty cool. Not for $12.99, but for $4.99 on Amazon Prime. Maybe worth it.
Worth a shot. Yeah, the not the synopsis, but the way this movie was described on Amazon Prime was a stylistic, sexy 80s slasher.
Yes.
So why don't you describe what this movie was about?
I don't think it was particularly either of those things, but it's basically about a group of teens who all lie to their parents, steal a school bus from their high school, and drive out to the country to stay at one of their friends' like cabins in the woods. Basically, their bus breaks down. They end up in some backwoods. Sorry, I wanted to say hodag so bad.
That's okay. That's fine.
Hodag.
Yeah, they ended up at some backwoods, like, disgusting cabin that wasn't her cabin, that was inhabited by a cannibal family many moons ago. And slowly they start getting hunted down one by one.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well,
It's
I'd
not
say.
a very deep story.
No, very pretty shallow.
Yeah.
Pretty face value.
And I did read a couple of reviews on this before I watched it, and none of them were like glowing. It was basically just like, yep, this is a movie. But one of them did say that it had like plot twists. So I was like, I kept waiting for twists and like nothing was happening. I just thought it was very misleading.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I didn't feel there were many twists, nor turns.
I definitely had picked out spots where there could have been twists, but alas, there were none.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you clowns, cut the crap.
So let's just go right in. Let's just get started.
Dive right in.
Dive right in.
Let's dive.
Let's put our successes out. Let's throw them out there.
I thought the typical douchey, like, rich guy character, Johnny, so perfect.
Yep.
I think he was written excellently in the form of an 80s slasher, and he might have been the only character that I think it was written in the style.
Yeah, definitely.
He had, like, the perfect hair for it. It was, like, that coiffed, like, but also perfectly cropped around the head. Way too long bangs. Like, the weird pouty lips all the time. Like, that character, he just fucking nailed it. Whoever that actor is deserves a medal.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that because I found him to be the most, like, annoying person there, but that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't particularly like his character, but he was the most effective character in the movie, I thought.
Yeah. Actually, I will also say that his girlfriend, I believe her name was Heather, and this was also the same type of thing. Like,
Yes.
embodied that character really well.
Like the 80s Valley Girl cheerleader kind of character.
Yeah, like the blonde airhead. Like,
I really hated her at first, but by the end she was surprising me with her actions.
Yeah.
But I also, her entire character was like an homage to the movie Heathers. Her name was Heather. She even used the line, "That's so very."
Yeah.
And I was
Oh,
like,
I'm
wow,
glad you
that's,
cut on that.
that's a little on the nose, but I can forgive it. I appreciate some callbacks.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that, so.
No, good call. Yeah. Anything else beyond the characters that we thought, or any other characters that stood out as well taught?
Not so much that they're well written, but I did appreciate that this movie killed off the boring cast members first, where it's usually the other way around, where slashers of this ilk kill off the interesting, like, different character, like any
Like the
character with any kind of
stoners or
personality.
the fat guy or
Yeah,
like
they always get killed off first, and then you're left with these two boring white bread motherfuckers who are just bumbling around and saying boring white person things.
Let's run
talking
back
about
up
their
the
401k
stairs.
and shit. Oh God, enough about your Roth IRA.
that was surprising to me that they did this because I felt like they killed the most, I don't know, you can go on a limb and call them likable characters first, and I guess in the context of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, so
They at least killed the characters who weren't being complete dickheads to everyone else the whole time first.
yeah, well, so let's just go over the characters that were in this movie. So it focused around 8 teens
Yes.
who leave a dance, get in a bus, and have a great time.
So the main character we're led to believe is Adrian, whose cabin they're going to,
Yes.
who's kind of an outcast. She's just like, seems like a nerdy, like good girl type person. And we're led to believe that they're basically just using her for her cabin.
Yeah, but she likes our main
Jock dude.
guy, but like nice guy jock.
Yeah, the nice guy jock. Like Sean, I want to say.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, like
Could be, really could be anything.
like Charlie Sheen and Lucas, like Cappy.
Yeah.
He's the nice guy jock.
Sorry, we just watched Lucas.
Just watch Lucas the other day. And then there was our two annoying Valley people, our Johnny and our Heather.
Yep.
There was Adrian's best friend, who
Beautiful mean people.
Yeah, the beautiful mean people. Perfect way to put it. And then there was Adrian's best friend.
Who was also like a jock. She was like a track star.
Yeah,
Her name was Jamie.
I'm not sure.
I think you did.
I think it
it's
was
correct.
Jamie. It was a J name. Moving on. Then there was Marilyn, who was like the punk rock, like leather wearing, all black.
Yeah, the rebel.
Like stoner chick.
And then Toby, who was the overweight but really sweet kind of guy,
Yeah.
who was a stoner as well.
The funny fat guy.
Funny fat guy, yep.
Who died first. Well, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't even know what happened to him in the end.
Yeah, what did happen
He
to
is
him?
hanging
honestly.
there till this day.
He's still hanging out there since
Yeah.
84.
So I think that's everyone. Oh, and then there was Wesley,
Yeah, Wesley, the
token black guy.
token black guy,
Ooh,
afro pick in the hair.
The
Yeah.
entire movie, I did appreciate that.
Yeah, afro pick in the hair. He had the headphones on the whole time.
I did appreciate
Around
his
neck.
aesthetic, although I thought those headphones looked too modern to be 1984.
I agree, and with appreciation of the aesthetic, it got real old to me after a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happened to you guys too. I know that's more erring towards a little bit of failure for me, but like the aesthetic that they established, I was like, okay, I get it.
Well, see, I did write down costume as a positive.
They tried.
but
The
I
costuming
wrote
was good.
I wrote costume-ish in the positive column because
Okay.
I was like, I felt more so like it was modern clothing that was styled to look 80s.
Yeah, like Forever 21.
Yeah, exactly. Just in pastel, like coral and turquoise colors, like bright electric yellow sweatshirts, like off the shoulder. Like it all looked very modern. It didn't quite.
Yeah.
I get the aesthetic, but I don't think it was completely like genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the attempt. I mean, completely.
They could have botched it completely, but at least they got something that was close.
Yeah, they got all older cars.
Yep.
They
Yep.
were rocking the boombox.
Yeah.
The killer mix. LOL. Tongue in cheek.
Lols.
I thought the opening scene was pretty cool,
That's what I was gonna say.
but I did think that was kind of like the most 80s part about the whole thing.
I would say the very opening frames and the very last frames were really the only true 80s moments, like stylistically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the opening kill. It was a good hook. It was pretty decent.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, all right, let's dive right in here. And then right after that, it got a little squirrely.
Yeah, and the freeze frame zoom at the end I thought was great.
Yeah, with the way the movie ended, typical 80s movie ending where, the bad guy escapes. What? And then, she screams.
Coroner's van is on the side of the road.
Yeah, he's escaped. The gurney thing is tipped over, blood everywhere. She screams like at the camera. Freeze frame on her, zoom into the mouth.
Oh,
Nice touch.
it was
Yeah.
good. We saw like the film grain kind of like really pop out.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Is that all we have for successes, or do we have anything else?
That's all I got.
I'm good.
All right, so I'm going to transition to failures, and
it.
I'm going to throw one thing out here, and I'm going to say that this movie was a stylistic nightmare.
Oh yeah. Yep.
This was supposed to be 80s style, and here's a couple things that really bothered me. They tried to make it feel like it was shot on film by a kind of cheesy film effect that
Yep.
they put over the top of it.
I kind of had a problem with that too.
I had a big problem with that. I had a big problem because that doesn't scream this is an 80s slasher to me. That screams this is a shitty grindhouse.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the Tarantino fault.
I really hated the whole missing reel thing.
Oh my God, that pissed me off.
That was awful.
And that's what I felt like. I was like, Robert Rodriguez can get away with this in Planet Terror.
That's the exact thing I wrote down. You are not Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, that and like the way they had used it, it was comedic. Like they missing reel and the reel comes back and then that place is on fucking fire.
Yeah. Yeah, because like
Planet
you're
Terror.
led to believe a lot of shit happened. This one cuts back after the missing reel, and it's just everyone's in the house now.
Yeah, it's missing reel, and it really only seems like there was a minute missing.
Yeah.
Like no time had elapsed in between. It didn't look right. You know, it looked like they had stock effects they put on top, and then that's what came out the other side. And I didn't buy it. And then I feel like we'd go, minutes without seeing any film grain whatsoever,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it would come back.
Yeah,
and it
was
would go
weird.
away.
Sometimes they did like the color bleeding on the sides of the screen, and then it would just disappear.
Yeah.
Like, the film grain would sometimes it would just be completely perfect, like DSLR footage.
Yeah.
Like it was. What is this?
Yeah, it was totally digital.
Pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't. What I would have appreciated more is if they just had said, "Hey, this took place in 1984, but we're making it look really good."
Yeah, that would have been much better.
Like, ditch the film grain, ditch trying to make it look silly, make it with today's technology, which it helps low budget things look better than they have a right to. And they almost got there. They had decent stuff going on, and they ruined it.
Well, see, I felt like this whole movie could have taken place today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't anything.
no reason.
There wasn't anything especially 80s about it. Like I don't feel like it included any of like the camp or like real tongue-in-cheek stuff that 80s movies are like loved for.
Yeah.
No one-liners.
I felt like they were kind of just like, oh, we'll throw some like crackling and popping over it, like some noise, and like that will make it 80s.
Yeah, there was no reason for this to take place in 1984. There was no reason.
If only to sucker idiots like us into watching it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they got our money.
Yeah, I just felt like it didn't really evoke the 80s as much as they probably wanted it to, which was kind of a bummer because that's what drew my eye in. Like,
Yeah.
it was being lauded all over the cover, like, retro best 80s movie since the 80s.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I appreciate that. But then
That's
it was
cool.
like they were just like, oh, we got a few old looking props and then we're going to throw some crackles over the film and that's it.
Yeah.
And it could have taken place today. I mean,
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, like the soundtrack, you would expect to hear some good 80s music, and they did. It seemed like they maybe came up with their own soundtrack for like the killer mix, and it sort of sounded 80s, but it really sounded more like the 80s throwback, like synth pop sound a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like it would be like MGMT, I think you had mentioned, or like
Yeah.
Future
Yeah.
Islands. Like it had that kind of vibe to it. It didn't really feel super 80s.
Yeah, it just
And then after the bus scenes were over, there wasn't any 80s music to be found at all.
I know.
It was just generic soundtracky stuff.
It was just
you know?
normal score. Yeah, like horror movie score. Which I mean, it wasn't bad,
No.
but it wasn't what it sold itself as, which is honestly our main problem with movies. Like I think I was saying before we even started recording, like things like this, I would rather watch something that was horribly absurd than watch something that was mediocre like this.
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't really care about any of the characters, even though I felt like they were trying to make us like open them up and make them seem deeper by
Yeah.
giving them these off little like one-on-one conversations to the side, but ultimately it didn't really make me care about anyone.
Yeah, I didn't really care about anyone, but I mean, that's rare for me to care about a bunch of characters, even in 80 slashers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, maybe care is the wrong word. Maybe just like a character or find them compelling enough to like be moderately invested in what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even characters that barely have any dialogue, like I think we've talked about Violet in part 5.
Yes.
Like
right.
she has
Friday
like
13th.
one line, but like we're all like, she's fucking cool. Like,
Yeah, she has like so much charisma. Like her character stands out.
Yeah.
It's
All the
very
characters.
vibrant.
All the characters in Part 5.
Part 5 are
stand out.
awesome.
Yeah.
And like maybe not all of them have that much dialogue or even that much personality, but like they stick out.
Yeah, they're charismatic. That's also
Yeah.
a great way to put it.
And in this movie, none of the characters, they're all, aside from like the two
Who
pretty
mentioned.
white mean people, you know, like,
And
Yeah.
and I'd say the characters is a major strength of this movie, and they weren't even that good.
Yeah.
They were pretty. They were probably the best part of the movie, and they really barely cut it.
and I think their strongest characters were probably, aside from the pretty mean white people, you know, the Robert Patrick character, the vice principal.
Oh, yeah, Robert
who was
Patrick.
a nom. He was very underused.
Oh man, they could have had a blast with him.
Oh, he could have been along for the entire ride, but he's like completely separate from the rest of the plot. The reassuring dad character
Yep.
was also a lot of fun. He disappears for most of the movie.
Yep, he's in the beginning and he's in it at the end.
Oh, by the way, the dad played Viper on Full House.
Viper on Full House, wasn't that? Is he and Jesse and the Rippers?
I think so.
Yeah, I know Viper.
Yeah. That was the dad?
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I have Viper. I got it on my iPod.
I felt like it also didn't take advantage of its scare opportunities as much as it could have. Like, it wasn't scary at all. Like, not even moderately unsettling.
Yeah, and you want to know why it wasn't scary? Because our killer, Junior Jode, the cannibal, he looked like a Geico caveman.
Very true. But I felt like every scare they set up, like every moment that was set up where it could have been an effective scare, like even just like a glimpse of him like lurking around. We got a lot of stuff from his POV, which is just like through windows, through like broken boards.
Which
like
is
that.
80s.
That is 80s,
Which
and I will give it that.
Stylistically makes sense.
Yes, it does. But I feel like there was a lot of other parts where they set it up where he could have shown you something like pretty creepy.
Yeah.
And they just didn't take advantage of it. Yeah. But then every like part that was supposed to be scary was just you open the door and he's standing there. I was like, is this supposed to be a jump scare? Because I did not jump.
Yeah.
I am not scared.
I expected him the entire time.
Well, I am glad this movie didn't throw jump scares constantly at us as the only form of them trying to scare us, so I can appreciate them not slamming that into our face a lot.
Very true.
It could be worse. I'd say one more failure, and Eric, you brought this up, but unless you want to talk about it.
Which one?
The special effects makeup that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, so I mean, it was pretty inconsistent. They did have some parts where there were some decent practical effects.
Opening scene.
Opening scene was great. I think when one of the characters gets stabbed through the chest with a pitchfork, there was some at least practical effects going on there. That was pretty good.
Some blood, at least.
But then, like, there were other parts where it was just some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know if it was done intentionally as a gag or if it didn't seem like it was, because why would they do that? One of the characters gets stabbed in the eye with a piece of broken glass. And it was like the weirdest, like, overlay that wasn't feathered into the scene at all. Like, it seemed like they just kind of banged it out in like an hour in like After Effects.
Like it was like the quick pass. Like, hey, for the rough cut, we're gonna do this. We'll fix it up later, and then it just never got fixed.
Yeah, I mean, you could see like the little piece of broken glass. Like, you could see it as a separate filter on the frame. Like, it stuck out. Like, you know how like if you ever watch like an old cartoon, and you know if you see something that's going to move in a scene and it's in the background, it looks different from the rest of the scene.
Like a draw that's gonna open.
Yeah, it was exactly like that.
It's always like extra bold or something.
Well, everything else is just like a plain picture, and this is the actionable thing that's going to be moving. So they take that and they make it something.
Well, speaking of the eye scene, in the beginning when they're stealing the bus, Wesley, who gets his eye poked out, actually says it's all fun and games till someone loses an eye. At which point in my notes I wrote down, "Will someone lose an eye?" quote unquote with a question mark, and he did later on.
Good.
I just thought that was a little ham-fisted foreshadowing there for him.
Yeah, but see, I also think that's in style.
Yeah.
Things like that are in style.
I agree.
So like they get.
It's like a little nod to the audience.
Yeah, for a movie that gets the pass on so many things because of the style in which it chooses to present itself, it still didn't get a lot of breaks. Yeah.
Actually, if I can add a plus, I did think the acting was serviceable. I thought everyone did a pretty decent job.
The characters.
It was actually above average for an 80s slasher, I would say. So it was pretty good in that respect.
Yeah, I expected it to be way worse, especially for having such a young cast of just like 8 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
They were all good to actually surprisingly good in the case of characters like Johnny. So
Yeah, they were the only reasons that I was even somewhat invested in this movie. I like Junior Jode the cannibal is not a thing.
I have a huge beef I want to talk about with Jode.
Okay, let's go. What do you got?
I hated the fact that when it was all said and done, we have our survivor girl, we have the dad, we have the cop telling her, "Oh my gosh, like where are your friends' bodies?" And then the two cops having the conversation about the Jode family and how awful they were. And then there was like a black and white flashback just shoehorned into the last 5 minutes of the movie. I thought that was really ineffective and clunky.
It was pointless.
It didn't really, like, if they had showed us that at the beginning and given us an they had introduced us to the Jode family to begin with, and we're like, hey, there's this legend, I would have been like, okay, like I'm on board.
Yeah.
Not stumble on this house, the mailbox says Jode.
No one says anything.
30 minutes later, they're like, hey, I think I remember an urban legend about this. And then nobody mentions it again until like the very end.
Yeah.
I didn't appreciate that.
And then our
Especially that there was like a black and white flashback of like them at the house, like, we got you surrounded.
put your hands up.
Yeah.
and then our faux main character, who ends up getting killed off like first.
Yep.
Like the person was killed off first. She was like, "Oh my God, this belongs to my sister. My sister ran away, and she must have been here." Oh, whoa. Wow! They could have just not had done any of that. Like, what was that supposed to do for me as a viewer?
I mean,
Yeah, they were like, first scene, we're going to mention the sister. And then when she gets to the dance, we're going to mention the sister again. And then we're not going to mention her until she finds the necklace. And then that's it.
Yeah.
It was really not like a tool at all.
No, like there was nothing because then they killed her off.
Yeah.
The first.
that entire thread just disappeared out of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
And the fact that they killed her first and this whole thing was like her idea to go to the cabin, I was like, oh, well, she's obviously in on it. No.
Yeah.
Nope. Wrong.
No twist.
No twist. There's
Yeah.
none twists in this movie.
Yeah. None.
Not that that's like a problem. I mean, we've had our fair share of Saw movies, so it's not like you need a twist to be good, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Agreed.
I feel like it would have benefited, possibly.
Yeah. Anything else that even slightly upset us a little bit?
Lame death for the killer. I found that obnoxious.
Oh, what? He got shot?
He just gets shot.
Well, he's not dead, duh. That's
Well,
why.
lame faux death for the killer.
yeah.
Yeah,
I guess we'll have to
agree.
wait until Lost After Dark 2 comes out. We
I
find out.
felt
how
like the
Junior
first
Joe gets
time,
killed.
the first shot the dad fired too, I felt like should have hit the girl that was standing
Oh,
behind
I thought
I
it
thought that's
did.
what happened. Yeah.
Me too. I was like, oh, so she just got shot on accident. Nope.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weak. And then even after that, so, you know, they shoot, the father comes back, finds the survivor girl who was our main character's best friend,
Jamie,
who's at the bus that had broken down. The dad comes, gets out, shoots the bad guy, transition to the end scene, police are there, blah, 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 and then we wrap it up. It's like, ugh, that was real clunky.
Mm-hmm.
Like, real clunky and really cheap.
Yeah, I feel like it was kind of rushed.
Yeah. Like, and it's not like, and they had established these characters as people who were going to be involved in the end of the movie, and that was the third time we had seen the dead, period.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was maybe the fourth or fifth time we had seen Robert Patrick, who was the vice principal of the school, who just tracked these people down just because that was what he had to do.
Yeah.
No,
Which-
it felt like everything was inconsequential, kind of.
Yeah. Except for everyone died.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
That's
even
the
that was like
ultimate
inconsequential.
consequence.
Like they would just die, and then their friends would be like, "Oh no, let's stay in this house.
Yeah.
Let's just keep staying here."
Yeah. I mean, they did try to like lend some gravitas to some of the scenes, but I wasn't buying any of it. That's not that kind of movie.
Yeah.
If it was an 80s throwback movie, they would be acting like the way you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought stylistically it was somewhat confused as to, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it was effective.
Well, maybe it felt inconsequential and ineffective because there are 8 characters, 7 of which die. The deaths are reasonably spaced out, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, pacing isn't really an issue with this movie, I'd say.
But
No.
I feel like that's too many deaths.
Yeah.
Well,
Because they were all boring.
yeah,
None of them, except with the exception of the pitchfork in the car, were extra bloody or anything.
Yeah. There was no eye candy for this. And speaking of no eye candy, no one showed their boobs.
That's true too. For something that's credited as a stylistic, sexy '80s throwback
it
slasher,
says sexy, and it wasn't at all. It was really.
you saw girls in their bras.
Oh,
so.
and they were really upset about that.
I know. She was like, "Do you think you saw anything?" I was like, "Yeah, I think you saw your fucking bra, you idiot."
Yeah, you're wearing a bra and you're wearing pants. I think you're
Long
fine.
pants.
Yeah,
I think you're fine.
you'll be good.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I found it wanting.
yeah, for sure. Do we have any more failures or any risks we want to talk about? Any outstanding questions that exist?
My main question was, will someone lose an eye? And I got the answer to that, so I'm good.
All right, that's good. At least it answered your questions. Didn't leave you wondering.
I do wonder if the school scenes were filmed in the same school as Degrassi, Next
you said-
Generation, because it looked very similar.
Where do you think they shot? In L.A.? One likely.
No, the movie was filmed in Ontario,
Oh,
And-
that's a Canadian show because
Exactly.
it's Nickelodeon. Yeah, that's right.
so I think that's a possibility.
Interesting.
Not that anyone gives a fuck about that besides me.
Absolutely true.
I'm not even sure I give a fuck.
Yeah, so let's
Well, the risk
Talk
main
about-
character.
yeah,
getting killed?
I guess we could talk about that.
If we want to just blanket that under risk and move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they killed her off, and then it left us wondering if she was a part of it or really dead. And then at least what they did was maybe 15 minutes-ish later, they were all trapped in the basement, and they all had like a turnaround and scream moment because they saw something, and it was the lower half of her body. So you saw her pants all on like bloody on a table with legs in them. And I was like, well, I guess that answers that. I guess she's not a part of it. Unless they put those pants on someone else's legs. Which
Because she doesn't have a torso now.
they could have done it. So I guess with that, we can talk about some of our favorite parts of the movie. Who would like to begin?
I only have two.
Okay.
And they were really just, again, reaching. I feel like we've had the same bad streak with the past few movies. It's like favorite parts because I have to. When stupid Heather said she didn't want to get eaten by a cannonball.
Oh, well,
Yeah, okay, that was
scratch that off my list.
So I thought
I think we all wrote that.
that made me laugh really hard. I think those kinds of jokes are funny though.
Yeah,
I
just
think-
idiots.
yeah, like she's an idiot and she was like scared in the moment and she just blurted that out and it made me laugh and it was genuine and I know they wanted me to laugh at that and I thought that, hey, what a nice little pleasant surprise.
Yeah, we can make a dumb blonde girl think that cannibal is cannonball.
That's good. That's good stuff, guys. Keep it coming.
And then my other favorite part was when Heather and Johnny were hiding in the car in the barn under the tarp.
Yeah.
And like her dog was with her and it was like crying. Oh yeah, because she snuck her dog on this trip in a purse. And he was like, shut that fucking dog up. And she was like putting her hand over its muzzle and then slowly just broke its neck.
Yeah, that was
I was
baller.
like, that was pretty cool. Like, I wouldn't think that she would have the balls to do that.
Yeah.
And dog death is always frowned upon in movies.
But it was baller. It was like the dog death in I Am Legend where it was like a mercy kill kind of, it's just like, well, I can kill you right now and potentially save our lives and you from a brutal pitchfork death too, doggy.
Yeah, I think she was more concerned about saving their lives than the dog's life.
Of course.
But yeah, I was like, that is like a character archetype that I would not think would take an action like that.
Yeah.
So I was surprised by that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's why, honestly...
Even Johnny was surprised.
Yeah. And that's why those two
He was a
characters were the
little-
strongest.
A little
Yeah.
disgusted.
Yeah.
It's actually something I was kind of hoping to see in this movie was to see those two characters survive to the end.
Yeah.
Because usually those character archetypes don't survive to the end of these slasher movies, as far as I'm aware. And it would make sense that these kind of like, type A characters would survive in a situation like this, and like everyone else would probably get slaughtered.
Yeah.
And somehow these characters never seem to make it.
Well, I'd say that there are occasions where the mean woman character makes it, like the mean girl. Sometimes she'll make it to the end, I feel like.
Yeah.
I can't provide any examples right now, but...
Just a gut instinct.
But I know I've
Probably
seen
depends on how many times she shows her boobs.
it. Yeah, that's true. If it's like once or less, she'll probably make it. So, okay. I mean, other than that, I really don't have any favorite parts. Like, there's nothing that was super standout.
I mean, I did like that Robert Patrick gave shades of Paul Gleason in The Breakfast Club. Like, he had very much that vibe.
Yes. Yeah, Robert Patrick was good.
He was an overall, like, I just had fun watching him on screen.
Yeah.
He's great. That was the selling point of this as well. I was like, Robert Patrick sold.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And underutilized. Unfortunately, they didn't. I mean, even if they had shot any other stuff with him, because this movie was what, an hour 20-ish, hour 25.
Yeah, it was tight.
Like, if they had another minute of Robert Patrick scene stuff, I think that wouldn't have hurt the movie.
Oh, he went out so easily too.
I know,
So
and
sad.
we didn't get to see it.
We didn't get to see it.
And that was a part of some of the terrible CG we saw. Was apparently that guy Robert Patrick, the vice principal, got his head cut off, and then our junior Jode walks into the house, throws the head at Jamie, and then we see Robert Patrick's CGI face on the ground. Once again, they could have done a practical effect there. I don't understand why they didn't.
They could have, if it was supposed to be 80s stylistic, they could have modeled like a fake head.
Yeah.
That looked sort of like Robert Patrick and threw it on the ground. And if it didn't look great, that's part of the style.
Yep.
Like,
then, yeah, exactly.
I know, and I feel like I'm really judgmental about when people choose to use CG over practical effects. Not that I'm like an expert on it, but like I'll watch Face Off and they do elaborate makeups in like 3 days, and I'm like, how long would it really take you to mold and cast somebody's head?
Yeah.
Like 2 days.
Yeah.
And then you could throw a mediocre paint job on it, and it would still be better than a CGI head.
yeah.
I mean, I guess so. The main thing is cost, and I don't know how much this movie cost to make, and I don't know how much time they had to do what they had to do, and those kinds of things are the things that eat up a lot of time when you're making a movie.
Yeah.
So I get that you go, okay, well, we're going to do this and this and this practical, and then we're going to CG this and this. Like, they made the wrong choices to CG certain things.
Oh, yeah.
And that like they could have been like, okay, well, let's make this and this practical, and let's do CG here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to sell it as an 80s stylistic movie, then there's certain
Shouldn't
things
be
that
any.
Absolutely. But I mean, obviously, if you're under a tight budget constraint, you have to do something CG. I understand that. But it should be more things like, if you have to include the burnt real thing, then yeah, you do that CG. If you have to do the film grain stuff, okay, yeah, do it CG, whatever, fine. No one's going to question you on that. But if you have like these major death scenes that would normally be traditionally done with practical effects, you should do it with practical effects.
Yep.
Isn't practical effects cheaper to do?
Not necessarily.
No?
No, but no.
I guess it depends on the quality of your CG.
Yeah.
Quality of CG.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how efficient you are with it, because it could almost be a wash. But what people would rather do is spend the money in post, because let's think that they had that house available to them for 1 week, let's just say, to shoot this movie. Adding practical effects into that would totally extend that time.
That's a good
and
point.
Maybe they were just like, you know what, let's just do this and this practical, and then
Yeah.
let's do this CG. Or they're like, well, hopefully we can do it all practical, but then as the week or the 2 weeks or however long it took them to shoot it wound down, they're like, shit, we got to cut some corners.
Yeah.
We got to finish this up.
Let's just stand Robert Patrick in front of a green screen. We'll cut it off at the neck. Yeah, it'll take us 10 minutes to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, because once that part's done, I mean, things die in post, and you know, like that's where shit gets fucked up most of the time. So it makes sense that you just want to rush out of production, get into post, and fix all your mistakes.
But I mean, honestly, if it was supposed to be an 80s stylistic, I'm still I can't believe I'm still hung up on this, but it annoyed me so badly. I mean, if it's supposed to be 80s cheap slasher stylistic, you don't even need to make a perfect Robert Patrick head. You just grab any head, throw it past the camera, don't focus on it,
Yeah.
and let it roll into the shadows or something.
Yeah.
That's an option.
Yeah, yeah. And I wonder if they shot
Arguably
that.
a better option.
I wonder if they shot that.
Maybe
and-
they did,
and
and it
then bailed.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
possible.
Maybe, I don't know.
Sure, you never know what ends up on the cutting room floor.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. But I don't think that this movie completely died in post. I think there was a lot of things that went wrong in the script. But I guess after that we can rate it.
Sure.
Sure.
So let's rate it then.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with
Yeah,
fuck
I'm gonna
you.
have to give it an unfortunate fuck off.
Oh my god, my fucking father.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
All right. Who would like to begin rating Lost After Dark?
I can go.
You want to go?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a fuck you.
Okay.
And it's the consistent reason I've been giving movies fuck yous lately, and it's usually not because of the content, it's because of the marketing, and the marketing for this is pretty straightforward: stylistic, sexy 80s slasher. This is none of those things. It's maybe one.
It is.
It is definitely a slasher,
Slasher for sure.
but it's not any. I mean, the 80s is phoned in. It's not sexy, and the style is just wildly all over the place.
Uh-huh.
And the fact is, we get dragged in by these promises of something like this, and it's just It doesn't end up being what we want it to be, and I find that disappointing.
Yep. And for all those reasons, I will also give it a fuck you. You summed it up. I'm not gonna. We've said it 100 times already during the course of this episode. I'm not going to say it again.
Okay. I don't know if I want to give it a fuck you or something less harsh, like a fucking meh.
I will say my fuck you is not as harsh as my like Leprechaun Origins fuck you,
Yeah,
but it's
definitely
still in the same territory.
Well, I mean, both those movies we watched them predicated on pre-existing notions.
Yeah.
And then they both drastically missed that bar. But this one wasn't supposed to be something that was pulled directly from something, and they tried to do something original, so it gets more credit than Leprechaun Origins for
I
sure.
agree. And I'll give it a fucking meh.
Okay.
It was meh. I mean, if somebody was like, "Oh, I'm gonna watch this movie called Lost After Dark," I wouldn't be like, "Fucking don't watch it." Like, don't even waste your time. Like, that's not the reaction I would have. I would be like, "I didn't really like it, but maybe you will."
Yeah.
Whereas Leprechaun Origins, I'd be like, "Don't waste your fucking time."
Yeah.
Like, go get a root canal.
I will
Seriously.
stab you if you watch that.
But I mean, I really appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, like, I don't know, just
No, I wished it. I don't know. I think I wish that they had. I don't know. I wish they had focused more on what they were trying to do or trying to be.
Agreed.
And just go for it. I do appreciate the effort because it's not like it was.
as in like that somebody wanted to do this and
Yeah.
make an 80s kind of throwback style
Yeah. Like-
horror movie. But I wish they had embraced more what makes people love 80s movies and injected more of that into it.
I feel like if I were to try and make a movie similar to this, that this outcome would be kind of my fear that what would happen in the end. Like I feel like while we're making this movie, it's like everyone looks so good, everyone's acting great, blah blah blah. We bring it into the editing room, and we're like, oh, okay, no, let's keep going, and then I'd be like, damn, I think I missed the mark.
Yeah.
I think I missed it. I don't know
Yeah,
what
that's
I
why
don't know what it
felt
was, but I
it
missed it.
the mark a little bit. And that's why I can't give it a fuck you, because I feel like it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It was just kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like, oh my God, that's an hour and 20 minutes of my life I could never get back.
No.
This is not the typical second class cinema review on my part.
No, I do give them credit for
Giving it a go.
the things we gave them credit for.
Yeah. So I guess that's it, unless we have any final thoughts on that.
This movie wasn't too long, and it was 80s enough, and I didn't fall asleep, but I still didn't like it.
Fair. And before we wrap ourselves up here, we want to say that we have a first-class failure, kind of. So before we watched Lost After Dark, we tried.
I'm sorry. Every time we've had to reference the name of this movie,
We've had to look at
we've had to look at the notes.
Dude, I tried to look it up 4 times earlier, and I was like, Lost at Night?
Yeah,
Lost in the Woods?
I kept wanting to say Cabin in the Woods.
not
Cabin in the
memorable.
Woods is a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, we know that. So we tried to give Waxwork
I love you, Joss Whedon.
a shot. We tried to watch Waxwork,
Yeah.
and it didn't really work.
That was my initial pick. But after 30 minutes, I was really bored. And not even like this movie is an affront to my senses. I need to shut it off immediately.
Yeah.
Post haste.
Yeah,
I was just like, wow, this is pretty snoozeworthy.
It's extremely mediocre.
yeah. I feel like it should have just been wrapped up into one episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Dude, the music was so goosebumps. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I asked Brandon if he had liked it, because I was like, I feel like somebody mentioned this movie to me, and I'm not sure if it was you.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's okay. It's not great. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
And it was pretty in the middle of the road there.
I feel like I've almost watched Waxwork for the last 8 years. I feel like I've seen the cover and I've gone,
Exactly.
someday.
And I'm like, with a cover like that, how have I not watched this movie?
That's what I think.
But honestly, the little tiny dude that answered the door at the Wax Museum was the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's about it. Maybe I'll probably finish it at a later date. but-
Yeah, it's not that it was bad. It's something that, I mean, if I wasn't supposed to, if I didn't have to talk about it afterwards, I probably would have finished it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
But I was like, I have nothing to say.
This is gonna be
half
a-
hour in. I've
yeah.
got nothing.
yeah, I wrote down like 2 sentences.
This is gonna be a 3-minute episode.
Yeah, exactly.
It did have the guy from Girlfriend from Hell in it, though.
That was a good cat. I have no
Yeah.
idea how you picked that out.
I have no idea. I was like, that guy looks familiar. Let me flip through the useless catalog of information in my brain. So this movie I saw one time a year ago that I didn't like.
Yeah, right.
Waxwork definitely had the same vibe, so it doesn't surprise me. It also had the same like group of people involved.
Yeah.
Algebra, forget about it. Obscure actor from Girlfriend from Hell. Right here.
Yeah, you like to pick those kinds of movies. You got Flesh Eating Mothers, Girlfriend from Hell, Society, Waxwork.
I love like 80s horror comedies. I
Yeah.
don't know why. I love it.
Yeah. I don't think we
It's
really
hard-
liked any of them besides Society, though.
Well, it's hard. That's why I'm on a quest. It's hard to find good ones.
Yeah.
But the good ones are
So
good.
you really have to dig through them.
It's just like heavy metal. 95% of it sucks. 5%
Yeah.
of it is amazing.
Exactly. You have to do the legwork if you want
Yeah.
to find the good stuff.
For sure.
You can't always listen to other people's opinions.
All right, so I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Wrapping it up.
Wrap it.
Rat it up.
All right. We watched Lost After Dark, and it barely squeezed by without being on the Shitflix shit list.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was thanks to you, Brittany. Yeah, if I'm not sure I'd recommend it, and I probably would warn someone if they told me they were about to watch it.
If they were going to watch it for the reasons that it was marketed to them for, I would definitely tell them you should find something else.
Oh, I have to read this. I'm sorry. I have a note that I wrote down.
Okay.
About when they first got on the bus and they're chugging beers and they're like trying to be so cool. So Johnny just goes, "Party hardy," and then drinks a beer and then just yells, "Beer!" And I was like, okay, that's the tone of this. That's the tone we're going to set. All right.
Johnny was amazing. I'm not going to deny that.
No, very memorable.
You know who he kind of reminded me of?
Who?
The like wicked dickheadish kid in Unfriended.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That same kind of vibe. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I buy it.
Just like the snarky asshole.
No, what did we like better, Unfriended or this?
Oh, Unfriended.
I think. Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure I liked Unfriended more.
Me too.
What's wrong with
Everything I know is a lie.
Right? So let's just think. This kind of movie is right up our alley. 80s, slasher, made today, super stylized, blah, blah, blah. Or we do Unfriended, the movie that takes place on a desktop computer. And honestly, that was more
It
riveting.
was definitely like more deftly handled.
Yeah.
Because it took a risk.
I appreciate Unfriended. Someone brought up Unfriended to me like, has anyone seen the movie Unfriended? And I gave them this whole breakdown of how it was kind of cool to watch.
Yeah,
and
no,
I realized I was like, hey, I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I think I don't remember what I gave it at the time, but
It was probably
feel
like a fuck off.
I think
Probably.
I think we all gave it fuck offs.
But I don't know. I feel like I appreciate it more in retrospect. Like,
yeah, don't let nostalgia poison you though.
I
also
feel like
true.
that happens a lot though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you'll think back on something and you're like, that wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, well, I mean,
But I mean, a fuck off is just like a whatever.
yeah, and I would still give it a fuck off because it's not like I'd give it a fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to make film history or anything, but
Yeah.
it didn't make me want to claw my eyes out.
Exactly. I had a good time watching it, and once again, that's the hard line to differentiate: is having a good time watching it, and was it a good movie, and then how much of one impacted the other in my experience.
I know. I always just want to elaborate to like not watch a movie based on what we think of it.
we have terrible taste and opinions. Why do we have a podcast?
Well, just like everyone else. Hey, whoa. Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Second Class Cinema. If you'd like more information, find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Second Class Cinema. You can listen to our show on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. You can also listen to us on secondclasscinema.com. Pretty cool, huh?
Very
Pretty
cool.
sweet.
Oh, I also want to mention, too,
We're
that
on the interwebs.
I want to mention, too, that this podcast is in the Any Given Podcast Fantasy Football League with a ton of other podcasts. 18-team league that I just drafted for the other night.
How'd that go?
Did you get Bo Jackson?
I got Bo Jackson in all of my spots.
Perfect.
Yeah, so it
Okay,
worked
thank
out
God.
really well.
Hopefully he'll start playing again.
That'd be great. Otherwise,
Is that
putting a
retirement after
goose
20
eggs.
years?
I'll just talk to him. I'll email him. Be like, Bo, I got you. Get out there.
Do me a solid.
But I drafted Gronkowski in the first round, 11th overall, and he just scored 3 touchdowns. So I don't know who I'm playing. I don't know if they're going to listen, but screw you. That's my trash talk. Yeah, so the guy who's the commissioner of that league is the host of the War Machine vs. Warhorse podcast, which I made an appearance on. That should be coming out pretty soon, actually, in about a few weeks. We recorded that like 3 months ago. But yeah, that'll be cool. And I think that's it, unless anyone has anything to say.
I'm quite finished.
All right, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.